You are listening to the Battle Ready podcast. My name is Aaron McManus, and I'm here with my dad, Erwin McManus.
It's good to be here today.
It is good to be here today. We are doing this podcast the day after our last filming at Hillsong Channel.
Yeah, we just finished
for
our
the show
season.
we've been doing.
Season 2?
Season 2. But it kind of felt like just one long season from season 1 to season 2 because we kind of started season 1 and then hit COVID, took a little break, and then went straight into just doing them at our house, which ended up being Battle Ready.
But that's why for me it feels like 3 seasons because the season during extreme COVID quarantine
was completely different.
We were shooting all the shows at our house and doing it very differently and having a Zoom kind of community and very different than being on the set.
Yeah, and then finished season 2 being, or I guess all of season 2 was on set, and so I just kind of feel like it's kind of going together. But the show's called McManus. It's on Hillsong Channel. It's on video on demand. It's on their website. All that stuff. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's been fun doing it. And
it's been fun doing it.
Yeah.
And I guess it's been getting good feedback. So that's kind of cool too. It's always exciting. And
well, my understanding is that our
show is doing well.
Doing really, really well.
Yeah.
It might be better than number 2. I don't know. Yeah, we'll
who knows? Here we go. So we just came off of filming that, and we do a few episodes at a time, which is kind of cool, and we get to bring in some young friends and have a conversation. So we shoot pretty much all day, and then we both drive to our own homes,
which is an hour and a half away from
where we
the
shoot,
studio in Orange County,
and we sleep. And so I'm tired. Are you tired?
I am tired. I went to bed extremely early. Didn't go to sleep early, but I was hoping to.
Yeah, and then we filmed a message from you this morning, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. So in the last 5 days, I've shot Easter and Good Friday and Palm Sunday, and then 3 Hillsong McManus shows.
Yeah, you must be tired.
And then Battle Ready, and then did a few other things that were work related.
Yeah, did a few other things.
And so we're finishing the editing of my book, and I want to give a shout out to Brooke Figueroa for helping me refine all the last pieces of my book that need to be cleaned up.
That's exciting. So what I find after shooting a long day is that I don't want to talk anymore.
Well, then you should not be doing a podcast or something.
No, I realize
there's a lot of talking involved.
So this is kind of like the afterburn, like, you know.
So you're going to be unfiltered?
I think so. I think so.
We got him raw, unfiltered, vulnerable, ready to just go deep.
Okay, I'm ready for the DMs and
No. But it was last episode we had Joe Smith, and that was really special.
I loved it so much.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
And then this episode is just me and you, which I think is nice too.
Well, I have 2 questions that come to mind. One is coming today. I don't know if it's accurate or not because sometimes I hear from hopeful people and sometimes I hear from hopeless people. But this morning I heard hopeful. All the restaurants are going to open up indoor in LA next week.
No way.
Well, there may be no way. I don't know if it's real or not.
Is he just trying to get us?
I cannot deny or confirm. I have not.
I've heard that too. I've heard movie theaters, gyms, restaurants like 25% capacity.
No.
25%, but opening.
Yeah, indoors. Yep.
But opening.
All right. So the 2 questions that come to my mind is I'm like, well, that's rather abrupt. All of a sudden, that must be massive political pressure. And by the way, that decision. We've had this conversation. That decision has nothing to do with science. Come on, Brian. Just acknowledge it. It has nothing to do with science.
Their version of science, maybe. Because now they're citing
versions of science.
They're citing the vaccinations as the reason why now, with the same level of COVID cases that were in the last low period, that with vaccinations now it's safe to go indoors.
Yesterday, the representative from the CDC said that even with vaccinations, it is not safe to travel. And I think CNN is even getting burned out because they had their own expert come and say, of course it's safe to travel. Even if you don't have the vaccination, it's safe to travel. Airplanes are one of the safest places you can be. And so I thought, wow, CNN, who is always lined up completely with, quote, the science of the CDC.
Hey, I've traveled quite a bit during this quarantine, and I'm good. So I think it's pretty safe.
It is pretty safe. But now suddenly they're questioning the science. I am so grateful that the media is now now feel free to question the science. But anyway, back to my off my rant. Back to the podcast.
Back to LA. So
Back
they're
to LA.
opening up restaurants.
I have
in
two
LA.
questions. One is, what do you want back? Like, what are things that
What?
maybe you?
We're not even there yet. So they're opening restaurants back in LA.
Yes.
Do you think once they open up restaurants that it'll kind of just snowball? Because they haven't even talked about. I mean, they've been talking about opening back schools, but that's a whole controversial thing.
Yes, because there are unions involved. It's not about science; it's about unions.
Interesting.
But here's the question. All right, let's just take this all at face value. Restaurants can now open at 25%.
Okay.
What force, like police force, U.S. military, CIA, what force is going to reinforce that law? What force is going to? Is it the Food and Health Administration?
I think it's Food and Health and Department of Water and Power.
And do they have enough personnel to go to all the restaurants to make sure they're at 25%?
What they do is they bully the big ones, the well-known ones, and then they threaten them. And so like what was going on before was that they were basically saying, we'll cut off your water and power and your gas through the city. Anything that the city can control, we'll shut you down, and that's how we'll do it. And then we'll go after your permits.
So in other words, it's like they always find corruption at USC in their football program, not because there isn't corruption in all these other teams, but they have to pick an example. And
yeah,
and
UNC.
You
say USC or UNC?
I picked Southern Cal because I didn't want to. I didn't want to bring it so close to home.
North Carolina too. You guys, some shady people back in this football program.
You cannot tell me. I'm sorry. You cannot tell me University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill is more corrupt in their athletic department than Alabama or Ohio State or Florida. But there are certain schools that are never going to be investigated.
No, never.
So
never.
My little alma mater. Brooke, are you with me? We get picked on because they use us as an example, just like SMU getting wiped out in their football program, but Penn State getting their football program in a couple of years after a more horrific violation.
They're just jealous of us, Pastor Erwin.
These things are just not fair. Just to be realistic.
I think what?
These things are not fair. They, large institutions choose who they're going to make an example of. Man, this is a whole different subject, but this one's important.
Yeah.
Leave my Tar Heels alone.
I can't wait to go back to movies. I can't wait. Honestly, I'll go see anything. I saw a trailer for I saw a trailer for Mortal Kombat. I have no interest in Mortal Kombat. I would go see, what number of Frozen are we on right now? I go see Frozen 7. I don't care. I would, if I could get a
Refrozen?
What?
Refrozen.
If I could get popcorn and hang out. But if I have to go in and watch it with my mask on, I'm GG's. I'm gonna stay at home.
Oh, come on. Really?
No, absolutely not. No, you can't control me.
I could not sit in the theater to watch a movie for 2.5 hours with my mask on.
I could. I just love movies.
You're a desperate man.
Yes. I drove all the way to San Diego to see Tenet last July.
Yeah, but did they make us leave our masks on
No.
in that theater? Did they make you?
In my theater, yeah.
You had to wear a mask, but you could buy food, so you take it off to
Oh
eat.
yeah, I just bought the jumbo size of popcorn and just kept
In
Yeah,
a
you
giant,
just eat
in
for
a
slow mo
giant
the whole
soda.
time, 3 hours in Tenet.
Yeah, that's right. You could take your mask off if you're eating, and this is going to be the new strategy for national obesity.
Well, now I think in the first reopening, they're not, well, I know in New York, at least, they're not allowing movie theaters to sell concessions because they don't want people to take their masks off to eat.
Oh,
Yeah.
nope.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
Very
Good.
sad.
I'm waiting on popcorn.
Yeah.
I'm waiting
That's a
on
smart
Raisinets.
strategy.
Yeah, but when we saw one, we went down to Orange County and watched one, and
And we were allowed to have
we
popcorn and
ordered
everything.
food.
Yeah, it was so great.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, I'm so grateful. This is one of those rare moments I say I'm so grateful for Orange County
Yeah.
and
too.
that I can drive to Radio Free America and experience life as it once was or should be.
We were shooting the show yesterday, and I ran into a friend I hadn't seen in a while, and he was working on a show as well. And I'm like, where have you been living? Where have you been hiding out during all this? Because I haven't seen you at the studios. And he was like, I moved to Texas. He moved to Texas with his wife, and he's like closer to her family, but also you just make so much more money. And he's like, walks back, he's like, no, it's just more you just aren't having to pay all the taxes that you have to pay in California. He's like, it's just a better benefit for us. It's like amazing. There are so many people moving to Texas, moving to Austin, moving to Dallas, Houston.
Yeah.
How long do you think they'll last? Not
They'll-
my
they'll
friend.
last
Not
there.
my friend. But how long do you think a lot of this flight to Texas will last?
Well, what Texans are concerned about is that
Yeah.
all these Californians are moving there,
And then bringing
and then they're going to vote for California political
similarities, like
similarity. Yeah, they're going to turn Texas into California when they left California.
for being California.
Yeah, and went to Texas for being Texas, and now they're going to turn Texas to California. So Austin,
Texas are
if,
not.
if you're
Texans are-
listening right now, Austin, you need to bring the best of both worlds because California brings a lot of beautiful things to Austin, but you don't want to lose why all the Californians have moved to Austin. You got to love the part of Texas that makes it Texas.
For sure. But Austin is California. It's California and Texas. It is so liberal. It's like, and it's so odd that it's the capital because it's the most liberal part of Texas. And yet it houses the capital. It has UT as the home of like the tech and all of the music and the film kind of in Texas. So
Great city.
It is a great city. So it is like odd, right? Yeah, I don't know. It will be interesting to see kind of what happens in all of it.
But it's not dissimilar to when people would come to Mosaic as a church from another church, and they would come telling us everything they did not like about the other church, and then they would try to make Mosaic like the church they left. And I would say, wait a minute, you left that church because it's the way it is, and now you're trying to make us the way that church was, which means then you would hate our church because we would no longer be the church that you came to, and you would leave our church to go find another one. So maybe the problem is you keep trying to turn everything into
Something you don't like.
what you left. And
It is odd, isn't it?
it is. And so, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do think that there's a massive exodus out of California. And some of it is by choice, and some of it is, in a sense, by circumstance. People just can't get jobs. Everything's been closed.
Yeah. The
And
industry has been shut down for a while.
It's hard enough to live in LA when you have a job. It's so expensive. You can't buy a house here for most people, and it's just incredibly overpriced. And then you're not paid in commensurate to scale based on the cost of living here. And so it's hard to live here. And then when everything shuts down, it makes it more difficult. I did hear the movie industry is opening back up. The TV industry is opening back up a bit, and they're going to hire an immense number of people.
Didn't they say there's an article that said 300,000?
Yeah, I thought it was several 100,000, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
And I think,
But a lot of the movie industry has moved, moving to Atlanta, moving to
New Orleans,
to Toronto, to Vancouver.
Yeah.
I mean, even to Detroit for a large season. They were moving.
Yeah.
There was a huge exodus. And so the question is going to be, is the future of even the entertainment industry going to be more diffused, or is it more centralized in LA?
Because they did the Golden Globes in New York and in LA, right? They like co-hosted it.
Yeah. It was like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were split screened and try to act like they were in the same room.
It's kind of cool.
Wasn't that one of the worst ratings of any Gold Globe in history?
No one watched it.
Yeah.
Just
And-
like no one watched any of the movies.
Well, I mean, that's the problem is that it's hard to build a lot of momentum around an awards show when no one's even watching the movies that are getting the awards.
Yeah, so many were streamed or like exclusive access or on one of the many streaming services. So it's just, I think people are tired. Like it was easier to go to a theater than it is to figure out where on what app you have to watch this one indie film.
Yeah.
It was down 60% from last year.
Down 60%? Wow.
That's
Yikes.
brutal. And I am a person, I mean, I love the entertainment
I do too.
industry. I love
makes me
film and
sad.
television. I want theaters to survive. And I want you to know that I will be paying you whatever my $16 for the ticket.
Yeah, some people are listening to this going, $16 to go to the movies. You're like, that's a cheap ticket.
That's a jump. Yeah, I'm thinking matinee, guys.
Yeah, me too.
I've never missed paying that much for a movie more.
What's the most you can remember ever paying for a movie ticket?
I think $25 for an IMAX film, like
Oh.
IMAX 3D.
That's what I was thinking. Something like $22 is something probably that I've
insane.
paid. You know, and that did you buy popcorn?
Oh, of course. I mean, if you're
$9.
yeah,
And, your soda for like $8.
yeah.
All right, so it's adding up. Did you get anything else?
Probably. At that point, I was tapped out. I was like, man, $40 for a movie. GG's.
I'm good. Yeah, it's a lot. It is crazy when you go to different parts of the country and realize like how inflated. I have a friend who moved from Seattle to Indiana, and that they're buying a house for $160,000, 2 stories, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths or something. And I'm like, are you kidding? That's the down payment in Los Angeles for a house, not and that's not even the whole down payment for a house in Los Angeles. It is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think people don't understand how disproportionate costs are across America, and that because I was just seeing this list of all these homes for movie stars, and and a $32 million house in Florida. And well, that's a pretty like large mansion. I was looking at the photographs, but then I saw some like celebrities in LA, and their house is like $3.6 million in Hollywood Hills. I'm going, people don't realize they don't have much for $3.6 million in Hollywood Hills.
It's not like things are just so disproportionate.
Yeah,
like it's just crazy, the scale and the ratio and just how different it is around the world to where it is in like major cities in America. But with that said, you had a few questions that you wanted to bring up.
I did, because of all this. And the 2 questions that came to my mind was, what do you want back? Like, what are some things that we've lost during the quarantine of the pandemic that you'd love to get back? And then another question came to my mind is, what are you not ready for? Because the moment I heard about everything opening up, I mean, I'm thinking even as a pastor, right? You know, here at Mosaic, I'm going, well, our campus in Rialto doesn't have a floor, so we're definitely not ready. If there was a national,
we're not ready for that yet.
Yeah, if President Biden said everybody can open up 100% with no masks next Sunday,
Time out.
We would be in a little bit of a struggle. And,
we're kind of undergoing 2 renovations.
We're doing 2 massive kind of renovations. And so I thought the question, what are you not ready for? You know, like, are you not ready for summer because you gained the COVID-20 or whatever? You know, I just kind of curious, like, what are you not ready for? So what do you want back? And what are you not ready for? And Aaron, what do you want back?
What do I want back? I don't know what I'd want back. I think for the longest time, I was fine with church being online. I didn't mind it. But also, we do a lot of church. Like, that's like a 7-day-a-week thing. And then when you get to a Sunday, it's like another 15-hour
right, because when you're on the team, your church experience is through the week.
Right.
It really isn't Sunday. It's you have a team, you have a community, you have people you're doing life with and work with.
And I was pretty like, okay, not ever working for a church ever again. And like, and I go back and forth on that one, but I do love being a part of church. But then it hit me a couple of months ago, like maybe a month and a half ago. I was like, maybe around Christmas, I just miss seeing people. I missed being around people. I miss the joy of people seeing people and the energy that creates, you know? For me, I don't necessarily, like, I miss going to the movies, but I don't miss it bad enough to want to go back with masks on and like a vaccination card.
And without popcorn.
Without my dibs. Without, I don't know, what else do you get? But anyways,
so what we're talking about, what do you
the thing I want back the most probably is just the freedom to travel probably is the number one thing. Freedom to travel around the world. We've missed, 20 or 30 different trips that we were supposed to take in the last year and a half.
Yeah, last night I had something funny happen.
Oh.
I got a text from someone and he said, I do this event. He does this mastermind event.
Cool.
Everyone has to pay like $150,000 just to be at the event.
Oh, so naturally you bought 5 tickets.
Yeah, that's right. And so last year it was in Beverly Hills at this mansion, and
okay,
he asked me to come in as a guest, so I dropped in, and
cool.
I clearly did not pay the registration. And so he texted me last night. He goes, "Hey, we're going to do another one this year. Would you be willing to come, and would you be willing to speak and be a part of the weekend?" And I said, "Hey, would love to."
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it wasn't in LA.
Oh, it's not in LA. Where
it's in Miami.
Oh, Miami's been free for a minute though. They never were on free.
So I told Kim last night. I said, "Hey, I think I just committed to do something in Miami, but I didn't know it was in Miami when I committed to it. I thought it was in LA, and I'm happy to do it in Miami. But here's what I wanted to highlight.
Were you hesitant?
No, that's my first invitation in a year and a half to go somewhere else. There's a breakthrough moment. See, what do I want back? I want that back. I just got it back.
Yeah.
So I don't even care about the event. I don't care. It's like pro bono. Right? I don't care that,
I care if it's pro bono. No.
And I'm just going to go help. But
that's cool. That's really cool.
Just the idea that maybe, just maybe, the invitations to travel the world might start coming back, because that was the first one.
Right.
And you got to have one before you have two. And so I was excited about that. I want that. Yes, I want traveling back. I want live sports back.
Oh, I would love live sports back.
Yeah, it would be so wonderful.
I'm just honestly grateful that there's sports right now.
Yeah.
That there's actually sports we can watch. And that's been pretty solid for the last 6 months,
Yeah, I definitely want, I'm not giving them the order of importance. I want the full theater experience back. I want eating indoors in restaurants, or in really awesome outdoors in restaurants. I don't like the kind of like ghetto feeling, like just block out the street. But I do like when when restaurants really creatively create a beautiful al fresco kind of experience. That's pretty
like
awesome.
Patios and the whole thing.
Yeah, it's kind of gorgeous.
That's the issue though, is that like not every restaurant can afford to do that, and that frustrates me a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm like super pumped when they can, but I'm like, man, because we were going to New York and everyone had some form of like tent system situation with heaters that don't work because it's 10 degrees outside, and you know what I mean? And but like in LA, it's like, do you think that by the time they build all these things that they're going to let everybody in the restaurants and it's just going to be like a wash?
Well, I have felt for over a decade that the United States should pick up the European style of restaurants with the outdoor al fresco kind of experience, and that they should block off major streets so that restaurants can create different experiences. And I have always felt that that was something that was missing in American culture, that European culture does so beautifully. So I would love for that to be something that we take forward into the future. But I want to say this before going any further. What I want back most is I want to be able to experience community by church coming together on Sunday. I want to experience people singing together and worshiping together and hugging together and laughing together and talking, enjoying life. And I really miss you guys. And if you're listening and you're part of Mosaic somewhere, we miss seeing you. We miss standing next to you and seeing your kids and doing life together. I miss friends. I have friends because of their life situation or their choices in terms of security, I have not seen. Mm-hmm. I miss hanging out, with some of the families that we've been really close to and just doing life. And I really do miss that quite a bit. I want that back. But you know what else I want back?
Okay, hold on. This is a long answer. Do you miss a lot of things?
I want a lot of things back.
So how do you differentiate wanting a lot of things back but not wanting to go back to normal?
Yes. One is that my life was never normal. My life was extraordinary. And so what they didn't take from me was normal. What they took from me was extraordinary. And think about it. I mean, we had to travel the world.
We did.
That's extraordinary.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, it's not normal.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, we got to make friends and meet people across the entire planet. We have people who I would consider as close in KL as I have in LA, and I lost that. And so there's so many things that you lost. But the question came to me not because of the quarantine. It came to me because of technology, or maybe like new apps. Because there's this app, like Postmates.
Yeah,
like you
know Postmates,
but you taught me Postmates. There's another one too.
There's a bunch. There's DoorDash. There's Uber Eats. There's
and so my question is,
there's more.
Do people want home cooking back?
I want to learn how to cook. I want to learn how to cook. But like Brian was saying before, did you say it on air? You said it before, right?
Before. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, there's so many things you can order and that'll like set up a meal and teach you how to cook it. But like, it's just me. So like when you're cooking for one person is silly.
It's sometimes sad.
It's sometimes sad.
Okay.
So like, you know.
Okay, I'm going to put you on this. Brooke, do you cook?
Yes.
Like every day?
Was that a question?
No.
Every
But
like,
does Andres cook?
We're kind of we had our phases in the past year where we'd be really into cooking, and then we'd get really into Postmates, and then we kind of go back and forth because it's never gonna feel good.
So
like,
when you wake up in the
healthy-wise.
morning, or Andres, your husband wakes up in the morning, does he think to himself, "I need to cook today"?
He loves it. He loves cooking.
So does he cook often?
Yes.
And you're happy with that?
I am the recipient of that goodness.
Andres loves cooking?
He does. He's a
Yeah.
good cook.
Amazing.
That's so good because I just wondered how if your generation convenience can actually overtake quality over time, right? Because the convenience of Uber Eats and the convenience of Postmates can actually steal the joy of cooking and inviting people over to eat and that process that is, I think, very communal.
I still eat. We just Postmates it. we Postmates it. Whoever I hang out with, they're just like, hey, what do you want to order? Okay, we'll order this.
Like one of the greatest gifts you ever gave me was you bought me this smoker.
I did.
And so every week during the quarantine on Friday, I would smoke enough meat for around 40 people.
Yeah.
And I would call them up and then they would come and pick up the meat every week and feed their families. And for me, it was incredibly rewarding and joyful to get to cook for hours and hours and hours, to cook whole chickens, cook, barbecued ribs or steaks or whatever briskets may be. And there is something, I don't know, incredibly therapeutic about the process of cooking and preparing food. Mm-hmm. And so I just wondered if you're not careful, your generation will lose the value of cooking and sharing meals that way.
For sure, we're gonna lose it because there's so many good, especially in LA. This is the thing, though. If there were less options, there would be more cooking.
So you're saying
there's so many options that are good, and some are affordable, some aren't. That it just doesn't make as much sense. The convenience is definitely a crutch, but it's a really good convenience. Like they're nice, they're great spots to eat continuously.
Yeah. Like Elisa Duran, who's our general manager at Mosaic. When they were all getting together as couples, and she said, "I can order something." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "I don't cook."
But Chris cooks.
But Chris cooks.
Her husband, yeah.
And my mom, was interesting when she was remarried to Mike and they were renovating their house. She had talked to the architect, and the architect had been told to remove the kitchen. And Mike said to my mom, "Where's the kitchen?" And she goes, "I'm having it removed so we can have more room for the living room," because she goes, "I'm never going to cook." And he said, well, put the kitchen back in. I'll cook. and he actually was a really good cook.
That's funny.
So I'm not saying that in a judgmental way. I'm just wondering, is that something that one day it'll be cooking at home will be so vintage that some people will go, we should reclaim that. We're going to repurpose cooking at home. So I just wonder if there's any other things that
I miss
culturally, not just the pandemic, but are there some things that convenience may be taking from your generation?
Well, what you're trying to get me to say, but I'm not going to say, and not going to talk about, is dating.
Oh, I didn't even think about dating, but that's
for sure. You said dating when we first started,
No.
and I was like, "Yeah, you can talk to Brian about that." Yeah, I think it's weird. I mean, I definitely think it's more just the idea of like, will we ever get back together again? As far as like people and naturally connecting with people, making friends, it's so unnatural. It's either all digital or like a friend through a friend. It's like it's really odd. And then it's like all of these like not rules, but like masks or no masks or where do we go? And there's almost no everything is so specific and has to be like tailored to a thing. And I'm just like I'm not that interested in it. So let it happen. Like for all the people who wanted it, good luck.
Yeah, and I recognize, because I've been alive 6 decades, plus that.
Yeah.
There are things that change in culture that just end up disappearing, and their time had come, like the circus.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, the circus was a huge part of American culture, and then it got reinterpreted by Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
But basically, the circus came to its end, and no one sits around going, "I really miss the circus," right? And another one would be Blockbuster. I mean, right?
I do miss Blockbuster. I miss the nostalgia.
We would go into Blockbuster, pick out movies together.
We went Blockbuster 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even that long.
Yeah, and it was amazing, right? It was a part of our life experience, and drop that little cassette in the VCR or that what is it called?
It was DVDs.
The VHS tape.
VHS.
Oh.
Before DVDs, the VHS, drop it in there and watch that movie and hope that the tape didn't get eaten up.
I know. That was just such a bad day. Or like the DVD was too scratched.
Yeah.
And now it's like a corrupted download.
Your Wi-Fi is slow.
Your Wi-Fi is slow.
I'm
Where
just
are
saying,
we?
I've lived long enough to know there are things you thought would always be there that are not. Right? And like making coffee at home. That wasn't always a thing for everyone, but it was a thing for many families who drank coffee, and then now you just go to Pete's or Starbucks or go get them or Blue Bottle or wherever your choice is.
And now I've kind of come full circle now.
Where you want to make it back at home.
Yeah, I like making it at home.
Like I talked to your sister Mariah, and she has her in-laws coming in from out of town.
Are they coming?
And so I talked to her this morning, and
I love Susan.
And I said, "Hey, is there anything I can do to help or anything to serve?" And she goes, "Well, just be available for dinner." And I said, "Oh, do you want me to cook or us to cook?" And she goes, "Oh, no, we'll just do dim tai fung." And I thought, I love dim tai fung too, But I realized, and that made me think culturally, you're probably your first thought is, where are we going to order from, rather than what are we going to cook.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because I think the train of thought is, what do you want to eat? And then I don't go to the cook option. I go straight to the order option.
Let me give you an example. Like when Uber happened, there was a point where you said to me,
yeah,
I'm going to sell my car. I don't need a car. It's easier to Uber everywhere in LA.
The quality of Uber was so good at the time. Now it's not.
That didn't prove to be a sustainable truth.
Some people do it.
Right. But you found that you need your car.
I need my car.
Yeah. But it could have happened.
For sure.
If Uber had developed the way it could have had, LA could have become a city where you just didn't need a car anymore. You could just Uber everywhere.
Yeah.
And in parking, in LA, it's so much smarter to Uber because you don't have to worry about parking.
Yeah. Parking's a nightmare.
Yeah. And so I was saying that could have actually been the shift of a culture where the personal car became a thing of the past. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting to watch things and you go, what do you want back? And I did list a lot of things. I listed, traveling, movie theaters, live sports, church coming together.
Yeah.
And but I was also thinking about other things that get taken by convenience. And because for some people, I've had people tell me, I'm never going back to a movie theater. I'd rather just watch it in the privacy of my home. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's not the same experience, And
not all movies are movie theater worthy.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Cinematography has a lot to do with that. When a film has,
I think storyline.
To me, when a film has great cinematography, it needs to be seen on a big screen.
Yeah, I agree. But then there's some movies that I'm like, this is an intimate story. Like, I don't need to watch this on a big screen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you had another question.
Yeah, the second question is, what are you not ready for? If everything opens up and goes back to normal and becomes as it once were or better, what are you not ready for? Like, what are some things you go, I gotta get this ready?
Well, church is definitely not ready yet. We're still doing renovations. There would be no bathrooms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you, unless you have a really noble bladder, you won't survive.
Yeah. No, but we're getting those done. Some things I'm not ready for. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah, like I could be in better shape for sure. Not having a gym was frustrating.
So will you go back to a gym?
No.
You're just going to
I bought
work
stuff.
out from, you bought stuff. And
Yeah.
see, those are things I think is interesting. So that's not something you need back.
No, I don't need it back, but I think, yeah, maybe I just need my discipline back. I think maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm wondering like what things in a person's life are like gone forever. You know, you had a crisis, you lost something, you found a solution, but now the solution works better for you than what you had before.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people who have become healthier, they found a solution. They may not go back to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And but for a lot of us, like getting healthy again is something we're not ready for. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Not ready for. If I could play basketball every week right now,
You couldn't.
I couldn't. My legs are not ready.
No.
I would tear more things.
Yeah.
And
I think there's going to be a huge shift socially. People are going to really struggle, like being fully social again, being back in an office, interacting with people who aren't inside your circle, who are like kind of fringe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're all fringe to somebody. So it's like what will those engagements be like? And I think there's all this talk of like the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated or the masked versus unmasked, but I think that will simmer over time. And so I think it would genuinely just be difficult for people, I think, to connect with different people.
So you date someone who's not vaccinated?
What? What?
I was being funny. I said, would you date someone who's not
I'd
vaccinated?
have bigger issues if they were, probably. No, I've heard mixed. Like I don't want to get into vaccinations. I'm open to anything. We were somewhere yesterday and there was a incredibly long line outside of a Kaiser and people were getting vaccinated and I'm not like screaming run,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not as like conspiracy worried now. I think more people get it, you see it, there's less issues. You know what I mean? Like when more of your friends have it, it's like, okay, like I'm not that concerned anymore. But it's not really a vaccine, it's more of a protein. But we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. But the Johnson & Johnson is a vaccine.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, I just going back to like where things maybe you'd say I'm not ready for, I need to get ready for. If the world reopens.
I don't know, like talking in front of people again. I don't know if I'll ever do that again. I don't know. We've like a lot of life has happened and a lot of things have changed. And like I think a big question is like, do people see themselves the same after this?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I know I don't see myself the same. Like who I was in 2019, 2020 I feel very different than that person now.
Yeah. Without making it too, I don't know, controversial, I guess. I wonder if a huge part of the struggle for teachers and the teachers union is that they've lost the rhythm of being in person in the classroom, and that there's even a psychological hurdle you have to overcome. Yeah, it's not just a fear of COVID or a fear of infection or. That there's actually almost a emotional, relational, psychological hurdle that has to be overcome. Because I've talked to people who don't want to go back to work. I've talked to people who have become comfortable working from home and do not want to have to re-engage the work environment again.
Do you think with teachers, teachers are vastly underpaid before all this happened, but now they don't want to go to work? Do you think there would be just a point where like, at what point does a union stay effective? Like, how long can you go where, you're being paid currently to not necessarily work in the same situations? Obviously, there's a lot of factors. So I'm not trying to make this like us against teachers. I'm just posing the general thing. But what happens when like they don't need teachers anymore? You know what I mean? And then they just go, okay, well, we got one teacher and he'll teach, I don't know. Like, we all are on the verge of being replaced by machines or replaced by
technology
streaming and technology and subscription. So like what happens to a union that isn't effective?
Well, I'm hoping that many teachers inside of the unions actually want to return, but unions speak in a monolithic way, even though people may have different opinions within their own union.
Right.
And I do think that one of the great challenges is that online teaching in the way it's being done clearly doesn't work for kids. And because kids need more than information, they need socialization. And so a huge part of education is learning how to interact with other human beings. It's how to be a human being in a society. And the school system is a social construct that helps us socialize our children so they become healthy citizens. Mm-hmm. That cannot be done from Zoom.
No. But it's also not the teacher's fault they have to Zoom.
No, what I'm saying is, no, it's not the teacher's fault.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that this is a part of the challenge that the future is going to have to relate to.
It's a great example. It's a great case study.
Yeah, you're really not just teaching English. You're guiding an environment where people are learning how to socialize, mm-hmm. how to work together, how to cooperate, even how to measure their success against others, because there's a human dynamic of competition. There's a human dynamic of complementary development where you do better when you're around people who are doing better. And you take on the characteristics of the group. So if the group is kind, you become kinder. If the group has ambition, you develop ambition. And these things are not being factored in to what children are losing in their own development. And so, first of all, I would say great teachers are perhaps the most valuable commodity in a society. Like there is just nothing more valuable than a great teacher for a child.
Right.
And every parent who's ever had a great teacher for their child should be incredibly grateful, and every person who's had a great teacher should be grateful.
Everyone has one teacher that it affected them.
Yeah, one teacher that kind of like changed
their life, or like just stood out to them, or like made an impact. Like there's just, without a doubt, there's just something so important about that growing up, you know?
Yeah, and I do think that right now we're in the this crisis isn't just about how do we get kids back into school and how do we get teachers back into the classroom. This crisis is actually highlighting something much bigger. What does the future of education look like? And I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know. But I also love teachers, so pay them more and get them back and get them what they need, you know? More money and more help. Well, one, if you're listening to this and you're checking out this episode, I think you should go and comment in the most recent post and like tell us what one thing that what is it, leaving behind? Oh, no, one thing that you're not ready for?
One thing that you want back.
That you want back.
And one thing you're not ready for.
One thing you're not ready for in the post-COVID world. And then what's the first thing you're going to do? Because I want to go, the first thing I want to do is I want to go to Tokyo or go to I want to go to Tokyo.
And I was hoping I could go to the Tokyo Olympics, and we just heard that they're not going to have any spectators.
No outside, no external outside of Japan spectators. So they'll have only like Japanese spectators.
Because I would have moved heaven and earth to get myself to the Tokyo Olympic Games.
What's the first thing you're going to do?
Well, maybe one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to go somewhere. And
where? Be more specific. Pick a spot.
Oh, I don't know. I'm so open to. I want to go see Spain.
Yeah, I've never been to Spain.
I've never been to Spain, and I'm Spanish,
love to go.
And
yeah,
I would just love to walk the streets of Madrid and Barcelona. And I've never seen Portugal, and I'm also, obviously part Portuguese, and would love to travel that part of the world. And I would love to think that could be the first thing I could do in my free time. It'd be awesome.
It would be awesome.
What about you? What's the first thing?
I already said I would go to Tokyo. Where were you?
You taking me with you?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet. No, Tokyo sounds amazing. So does Madrid and Barcelona and Porto and all those amazing places in Portugal and Spain. I would love to see Nazaré in Portugal, the big wave spot where the lighthouse is and the cliffs.
Well, if you surf it, it'll be the last thing you ever did.
I would never surf it. Never. I have no desire to surf in big waves. I like the nice ones. To have fun, not to die.
There's so many things I can't wait to get to do.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good, and I feel like it's coming soon.
So we're going to go ahead and just declare it. It's going to get better. We're going to make it through this. There's going to be a day where All the classrooms are open and kids are enjoying learning and teachers are having a great time teaching kids. And there's going to be a day where all the restaurants are open and they're packed with people. We're eating great food and we got to burn it off because we've overindulged. There's going to be a day where the health clubs are open, the gyms are open, where theaters are open, where there's going to be a day where I can go watch the Clippers beat the Lakers live. There's going to be a day where we're going to get to see our friends everywhere and not worry about social distancing and wearing masks, and we're going to be able to enjoy life and do life together. So I'm just going to declare that there's going to be a day. It's coming soon. We're going to be there, and I can't wait.
And with that, thank you for listening to the podcast. We're so grateful for you. We're so grateful for every person that supports the podcast on Anchor and everyone who watches it on YouTube, reviews it on iTunes, and listens on Spotify. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next Tuesday.